Hello. Hi, everybody. If you see I was trying to get him in the picture, Archangel Michael, but I'll put him back in a little bit. I'm here today to actually talk about um, the Archangels and a little bit of my experience with working with them. Um, and this is actually going to be my video for April's newsletter. So we're trying something a little new. Uh, I'll still continue to write some blogs, but also mix it up with more videos. I find that they're kind of fun. Uh, so I did a video recently talking about my Angel Links class and got a little bit into the angels at that time in that shorter video. So I just thought I would explain a bit more about them and my relationship with them and how you could also work with them. So a lot of you who've been around in this type of holistic industry have seen um, the archangels and the regular angels known as companion angels or guardian angels uh, kind of come be a really big thing. It started probably about, um, I mean, for me, my relationship with the angels goes back to childhood. I used to see them everywhere. It was very matter of fact for me. Um, they'd be around. I remember being very small and seeing them in the backyard or even in the sky, like cloud formations. Um, and now that I look back, I realize they were a big support. Um, and as I grew and, life goes on, you kind of forget about things or not so much forget, you don't work with it. So it was in the it was around 1994, 1995 that they made their presence known back to me. And that's when I bought the book Ask Your Angels by Alma Daniel. And that book, so it even pertains to today, is probably my favorite angel book. There's many, many angel books out there, some good, some not so good, some just very specific to different things. That book helped me so much because back in that time there wasn't a lot um, of classes, like we see today. There's many of us wellness centers out there, spiritual centers. Back then I didn't even know what that was. I was more naive. I mean, it existed, mediums existed, psychics existed, but I was like 19, so I didn't know what was happening with my abilities. So I um, bought that book, and that book gave me so many tools. One of the main tools in that book is the grace process, um, which stands for grounding, releasing, aligning, receiving, and releasing. I'm sorry, I already said that. It's grounding, releasing, um, aligning, conversing, and enjoying. Spells grace. So if you were to get that book, I mean, I don't know if it's in a Kindle version. I know you can get it on Amazon. And I later, about 15 years ago, connected to the author of that book, who's Alma, who's mentored me too, uh, which has been an amazing experience. Um, but my experience with the archangels was always very different from, some of the stories I would read about. And then I watched them become very commercialized, And some of those commercialized things I have. They're sitting over here in the form of oracle cards. I have so many. So there was tons of books, statues like up the wazoo. That was probably between 2000, probably earlier than that, but I noticed it probably around like 2005, 2004, 2005, all the way up into the present. It was a big, big thing. People were reading, learning, training about the archangels. And there became a bit of this over focus of, and I don't mean it in a negative way, but the way I'm going to say it, I'm trying to, is there was all this focus on love and light and these light beings, known as the angels. And as I was reading some of the stories, my experience was different. Was the best thing I could explain. Um, Experiences, guardian angels, yes, they're around there, and you have them, and their primary task is usually to keep you on track. One can be more comforting, another would be more protective. Like if you were going to get, almost hit by a car, it wasn't your time, they can intervene in that way. And I primarily realized I worked with the archangels more. I guess it's just what I tend to plug into. And so yes, archangels, all angels are light beings, and they were created in the way that we were created. They just are celestial beings, meaning they have never incarnated here. And because they've never incarnated here, uh, they can come across in different ways. In my experience, because your experience can be different than mine, so just keep that in mind. I'm just sharing how I teach with the angels and work with them. I do have a devotion to them. I'm very grateful to them. Um, but as they have told me, they are light beings. And some are more evolved than others. I tend to work with the primary archangels that have been documented throughout the different religions and faiths. They show up multiple times, so they are, to me, forces of creation. Like Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel. Archangel Gabriel is in the Christian Bible. He's in uh, the Old Testament in Judaism, the Torah. He is also known in Islam. So he channeled the Quran to Muhammad. So he's gotten around. Michael's gotten around. Michael's known in all those religions as well. Raphael. So, and there's like 22 documented archangels. To me, they are infinite. Our universe is infinite. We are infinite. Why wouldn't those light beings be infinite? So, as with any being, whether it's a spirit guide, spirit angel, or any other entity, when they come through, if you feel that one is revealing themselves to you through signs, everything else, you should still always question that spirit, that energy, that entity. And that's something that can get forgotten when you're working with light beings, because it's like, oh, they're light, they're good. But some, if they're not as evolved or haven't worked with humans, there might be a disconnect, and it might not be an energy that you should work with. Or you can't always just believe that it's who it says it is, and that has happened to me. And because I question, I realize right away how to discern that this is not who or what they say they are, and I'm not engaging. You always have the ability to say, I'm not engaging. Go away. You don't have to give an in, if that makes sense. When I've been asked by people who feel like, oh, I've got this around me or that around me, and I realize they invited it in. We always invite it in if it's bothering us. Even I have to own that sometimes. If it's something I've let in, we can let things in directly like that, just from not questioning, being too naive. We can let things in through our own weaknesses, meaning, and I'm not just talking about angels and stuff right now, like in life, like attachments, things of that nature. It's always us that opens ourselves up to it, even if it's unconsciously. So that the good news is we're always on this path of growth and healing, and we can get help and grow from it and release it. So my experience, to get back to that, with the archangels is the ones that I work with have been around a lot, have a reputation that I know that they have a lot of experience working with humans, even if they have not been human. I like to remind them when they give me things to do that they have not come in here as a human being. And they're like, touche, touche. I primarily, I work with quite a few of them. Primarily is Michael and Gabriel and Raphael. I do work with Uriel and Ariel and some of those, the Azrael. I mean, I could go on. Uh, like Michael, uh, he who looks like God, that's what his name means. So the EL at the end of the archangel names means of God, uh, or emissary for God. So that's why their names are given that, because that's where they originate from. They are like light beams that extend from that, the creator, that source. Um, so how do I know when they're with me? Because they come in differently than when a regular spirit. Uh, to me, it's like being in a pressure cooker where it's like all of a sudden I'm consumed. Gabriel, who's one I work with a lot, he has pressured me to he is always pushing me out of my comfort zone. And that's what I primarily want to talk about is they are powerful beings. And if you call them into your life, they will work with you. That you have to be prepared and ready to change. And what I mean by that is they will smoke out the things that are not working for you. They will point that out and put that in your face. They'll be like, this is not part of your life's path. This is not serving your life path. Could be show up, whether it's a job, a relationship, needing to make changes with it within even relationships with friends, family, how you come into relationship. It could be about you, not so much about the people around us are not always the problem. Sometimes it is us, and we have to realize they're mirroring things back to us, triggering something within us we need to look at. And the archangels will remind you of that. They'll be like, you're really having a hard time with this person. But let's take a step back. Let's look at ourselves. Let's see, what is it in you that they are triggering, right? For me, because everybody's different, but for me, historically, it's been standing up for myself. It's been speaking up. And then it will be like somebody in my life is triggering that, meaning I need to speak up, and I get very uncomfortable about speaking up, so I avoid it, right? And that's what I historically have done. Because I like everybody to be happy. I like I'm a peacemaker. It's not always the right thing, though. If I need to, so I had to learn to be assertive and to set boundaries and realize that you can do that without, coming across like a psycho. So they would point that out, make me uncomfortable, and I wouldn't want to do what they say, and then they would stick around, and it would hound me. Like they would be in my, I'd feel like they weren't going to go anywhere till I did something. And that's often why I have made a lot of changes in my life, through my life, sometimes to where people are like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. Like even if it is for the best, for me, it can make other people be like, what are you doing? But ultimately, we have to do what's best for us in the long, we take into consideration other things. I'm not saying go be drastic. We always do consider how it impacts on the greater scale. But, nobody can tell you need to be in a relationship with somebody, or nobody needs to say you need to do this particular job. Only you know what's in alignment with your soul's purpose. And that's why sometimes it's so hard to make a change if others don't agree with us, or they would be disappointed in us. I mean, a lot of us will stay stuck sometimes too long because of things like that. So they show up, and I sometimes get pushed into, I have to do this. It's not serving me, and in the grand scheme of things, so say it's a relationship, or it was a job, it's not serving those who are in relationship with me either, because they're not able to do what they're supposed to do. Um, so there'd be all this anxiety or even a depression because of really it's resistance and avoidance. It's not because the angels are making me uncomfortable. They're pointing out the stuff that I avoid, and then I get uncomfortable. So it's me making me uncomfortable. I hope I'm making sense. I mean, it's very common in our world to have a certain mindset. I hear it sometimes with students, clients. Why is the universe doing this to me? Why are the angels doing this to me? Why are my guides doing this to me? Why is God doing this to me? And I'm not touching on things that seem, I think all of us can agree we see things that have shown up in people's lives that appear as if hell has come to visit them, or happened to you personally. And I'm not speaking to that type of stuff because when things like that happen, saying that there's a plan or things of that nature is not always the most compassionate thing to say at that time. Sometimes you just have to hold space and allow them to process through that when something just seems so horrible. What I'm talking about is I'm not talking about things of that caliber, like a great loss. And people go through their own process. We don't judge how people go in through their process. Support. And angels, guides, all of that will support you to heal, right? We never know what somebody's contract is when they come in for certain experiences that appear unexplainable to us and can make us angry with the universe or God or however you refer to that higher power. But when you could see the angels, archangels could see, I can see that the person is recreating a pattern. So I'm more speaking about patterns, limiting beliefs. Those are things we sometimes come in with or we inherit from our lineage. And they limit us. They limit our potential. So when they limit our potential, we don't do the things we're supposed to do. And then therefore we're not shifting, and we're not healing, or we're not on the right path. Then that's in our control. That's in our control because when we shift and we step out of the comfort zone, and it's uncomfortable, but you get through it, and then you grow, right? You grow from it, and that pattern breaks. It might take more than one try too, but the pattern breaks, and you become more empowered, transformed, and then you work on the next thing. They're always gonna smoke those out. Are they comforting? Not really. My grandfather, my great-grandmother, or my other loved ones are much more comforting when they come through in spirit. My spirit guide, Mama Ruby, much more comforting. The archangels, in my experience, not so much. Guardian angels, companion angels can be more comforting, but archangels mean business. If you ask them to help you, they're going to help you, but they expect you to do what they show up to do, because they're focused on the task. They're focused on your life task. They're focused on what you're asking them for help. So if you're asking for help within a relationship, you're asking for help around conflict at a job, they're going to point out why you're in conflict. They're going to point out why the relationship is not working. They're not going to just come in and mend it and put a Band-Aid and be like, it's all better now, I fixed it. It's just not how it works. But that's what I get asked for a lot. Like, why can't they just give me a break? Why can't they do this? And it's hard sometimes because we can't hear what we need to hear, right? Because I'll say, well, they're not doing it. It's a glitch. in this virtual reality of Earth, just like the Matrix. For those of you who watch the Matrix, you are replaying a wound. You are replaying a limiting belief, a limiting pattern. It's psychological. You are attracting people to come in and create this. Sometimes it's chaos, just chaos. It's drama, same type of relationship, different body, different face. Whatever it is, it's usually rooted in a limiting belief, a limiting pattern that we have to challenge. And that is what they will plow through. uh, in my case, when they show up, they're more like, we don't have time for this, Jessica. You got stuff to do. This is just wasting time. It's holding you back. They remind me of that. So when I say they're not comforting, I don't mean it like that they're cold, but some people have had that experience. Angels are just not sentimental. You know, we attach our emotions to them. We attach, like the names, right? Or we, just like we are with our pets and things or other people, but they're not people. They're not people. They'll be more like, well, this, like Gabriel, he is the speaker. He is the divine communicator. You know, he's comes in, he's got a trumpet. And then you see these videos, not videos, pictures of him with this little dinky trumpet. No, it sounds more like a freight train. When he shows up, is like roaring in my ears. Sometimes it's like, oh my goodness, what the heck's going on? How do you think he got that name? How do you how do you think he got depicted with a trumpet? Right? It's to me, it's not a little trumpet. It's the sound he makes when he shows up, announcing his presence, and I love Gabriel. I have a huge devotion to Archangel Gabriel. Um, he makes my ears hurt, and because he's communicating, but he has helped me immensely. Step forth in the sole purpose would not be have become what it become initially if I hadn't listened to him. And he is the reason I'm doing this video today, because he reminded me that I have a contract with the angels, archangels. And sometimes I get pissy about it, because it's like, well, I like working with all these things, and but they always remind me at the end of the day that I have a contract with them to speak the truth for them, meaning my truth, I guess. It's still through my expression, but to teach authentically about them, and how to be in relationship with them, having a personal devotion, meaning you can't just call on them when life is not working out for you. You know, like, I want to be in a relationship with this person I have a crush on, or I need $1 million, and you all of a sudden just light a candle, you call on them and expect them to be a servant to you. That's not the archangels. They're not a servant to anybody. They are forces of creation. They are here to assist humanity so that our consciousness can grow on this planet and we can wake up and be a better human. And it doesn't seem like we're better humans right now. There's a lot of stuff happening on the planet. But at the end of the day, no, they're not going to come forth in a way. They're going to help you change your life and guide it. And they, like, for me, they always push me. I know Michael's got my back, Archangel Michael, the statue I showed you. I work with him intimately. He's part of my work. He's always there as I work as a healer, as a spiritual mentor, as a teacher. And so I have confidence that he's there. And he's got my back. And I have a rapport with him, if that makes sense. You can too, just like Gabriel. And I can tell them apart. So but when they show up, their entrance is different. Just like I mentioned with the ears, or you might have sensations of ears popping, ringing, pressure or in the head, or just a sense of a presence around you. And they want to make your life better. They want to make your life, when I say better, better by fulfilling your life task, like the purpose you're here, which only you know. You can't ask other people to tell you what that is. We can help point the way, but you have to know it within your gut. I'm picking up. I'm gonna pick some cards to give you guys a message. So the reason, again, I'm talking about all this uh, is I do work as a mystic. I have a very cosmic approach to things, the way I see the world and the universe, and how I bring that here down to earth, and knowing that light, because we're attracted to light. We're attracted to. So think of why everybody's so attracted to the angels, is the light they give off, right? They're beautiful. And they are. They can appear differently, and I'm speaking about the archangels. So they give off amazing light, a light show, so to speak. Well, that light, we wish them to shine it upon us, correct? And that light does shine upon you to reveal everything. Sometimes we don't want to see. So that is what I would invite you to look within yourself of. I would like to see. I would like to understand more of what I need to do, or what's my call, what is it that I'm supposed to do, and call on one of the archangels, right? Like Gabriel really is going to help if you are meant to be a teacher or communicator in your way of healing. He's helped me make business decisions. He helps me parent. Helps those of us who parent, whether they are children we adopt or foster, or they are our biological children, however you choose to be a parent or become a parent. He helps with all of that stuff. Michael helps you take on those fears. So as those things get exposed within you, and you look deeply within oneself, and you're like, oof, I feel like I can't do that right now. Sometimes just acknowledging that and letting them know, like, I can't do that right now, but I know I have to, is good enough at the moment. Then you have time to kind of come up with a plan and work towards something, and they'll help you with that. So they're not going to come in, depending on how they work with you or your personality and your makeup. For me, they do tend to be like, we don't have time, let's do it. I'm not saying they're going to be that way with you. But you could start, say, with Michael or Raphael if you need healing. He will tell you, this is what you need to do to heal. And it's not always what you want to hear, right? But you hear it, and then you might be like, oh. And then you think about it and process it. And then you realize, I can do this in bite sizes. They don't expect that you're going to change overnight. They are here. As I mentioned, they are forces of creation. The archangels I'm speaking of are light beings that come in and reveal. They reveal all that we have done here on the planet, good and bad. And as I mentioned, we are drawn to that light. But we have that light within us. So we chase it, right? Or we look for all this light when the true goal is to reveal the light within yourself. And in order to hold more light within your own energy field, right? You have to actually look into the darkness and see the things you might not want to see because they make you uncomfortable, whether it's things you need to forgive yourself for or forgive others for, which is a process. That's a whole other talk. Maybe I'll do that next time. It's a whole process. In stages. Like in my Mystic Ministry program, we study Carolyn Meese, the Entering the Castle book, which is really Saint Teresa of Avila's work of journeying through your energy system, learning how to embody your own light, because light is transformative. Authentic light is not fluffy at all. And if you hold a lot of light, you will shine it upon others. And it will help them transform. But it will also make them see things they don't want to see. They think of Jesus, think of the Buddha. Like these historical figures that held a lot, like immense quantities of light. That's why they transformed so many. That's why we're still talking about them, and why we created religions and things around them. They were that powerful with their light. So the archangels remind us of that too. They've said that to me, like, we all have the light and you can grow that light, but in order to grow it, you have to make room for it, or it will hurt. You won't be ready for it. Then, so that would be what I would say is like a prayer, is more hold the intention for ease and grace as you work with anything. Help me integrate this with ease and grace. You can let them know, I'm human. You have to have patience with me because I'm not able to get it right now. It's got to assimilate in. We all have our stories of our life and the things that have happened to us, that the ego likes to play back to us and pull us back into the darkness, and I don't have anything against the ego. It's here for a reason. It keeps us alive. It tells us, that's its job. It's supposed to actually be an ally. It's supposed to. It's just not supposed to be in control, and that's really where the issue is realizing it's part of the team, but it's not meant to be in control on Earth. It doesn't really need to be above us. But let's see what the message is. I know the video, I don't want to make it too long, so I'll give you a message here. And if anybody, too, is interested in a class on angels or learning more about how to work with them, let me know. You can email me at jessica@thesoulpurposema.com. I'm always curious to know if people have interest, because in the past, sometimes I put things out and things take off and some things not as much, and I try to keep it interesting. I could talk about them all day. And I will say, I love them from the bottom of my heart. They have been a constant in my life as far back as I remember. And I think if it wasn't for them, I would not be who I am. I would be more afraid. So even though I spoke pretty directly about them and I kind of defluffed the angels, I hope you know what I mean by that, but they don't want us to project onto them, that they're these like rainbows and butterflies. They're powerful. So it's just recognizing their purpose in our life and how we work with them authentically. But it doesn't mean that you won't feel loved when you connect with them. it's a universal love. So that it's more broad, it's more expansive. If you've ever felt universal love, it's different than the love you have for a parent or your spouse or partner or your child or pets. Um, that love's attached to the hormones we have as humans too, um, which is a wonderful experience. It's why we keep coming here. um, Universal love is this all expansive, all consuming love, where you can look at the earth or the people from there's this, it's hard to explain, I don't want to say distance, but you can look at it as a bigger collective and be like, oh, I get that and I love them, even though some are misbehaving or some are making bad choices. You see it from a different level. That's what I get from the angels, is that universal love, um, this sense of peace. Okay. I'll show you these. Okay. It's interesting, the last one reading I did, Archangel Raziel came up. And he's coming up again. All right, and I'm going to pick out of this deck. So the decks I'm using, so like everybody's always had a lot of the Doreen Virtue decks. I have a lot of Doreen Virtue decks, and if you go on eBay now, you probably could sell some of them for a few $100s. They're no longer in print. She's no longer in the angel. She went in a different direction, and a direction that not a lot of people are happy about, but it's also her path. So this is by Radley Valentine. It's the Archangel Power Tarot. I like this deck because, especially if you want a mix of angels, you want tarot with more of like an oracle card spin. So it's not like a traditional tarot at all. But it is a deck I tend to gravitate to. And the other one is Kyle Gray, the Angel Prayers Oracle cards, okay? So first with the Oracle cards, we've got, I picked two. So this is a card more, it's a support card of your loved ones in spirit working with you. So I think they want to make their presence known aside from the angels, okay? It's a support. This tells me too, like, that there's a lot of, the energy's been heavier lately. There's a lot going on the planet. Majority of people I talk to, there's a sense, I hate to say doom and gloom, but like, what's next, you know? I don't know about you, I've lost a lot of people over the past couple of years. So it seems to be like a lot of people checking out, leaving. So this is a card of that they're still with us. As sad as it is for us here, as a hello from your loved one. And the other card is Archangel Sandalphon. So he's one of the archangels whose name does not end in El, because he was Elijah the prophet in the Old Testament. So when in the Bible it says he rose into heaven on a chariot of fire, witnessed by people here on earth. And as he rose, he ascended into archangeldom, where God gave him the name Sandalphon, which means, it translates into the word brother. So Archangel Sandalphon is an angel that, because he was human, tends to have a bit more compassion towards our density here, the noggin. sometimes things not sinking in. He also helps us to clear up our fears in a different way than Michael does. He's the patron angel for sound healers, or those of us who want to use, when you're stressed or scared, you might use music to calm yourself down. Like he's gentle. He also answers prayers. So this card is about the miracle of prayer. Often, some people think it falls on deaf ears, and prayer is a way of communicating with clarity your needs, your wants. Sometimes they're desires that might not be accurate, but it's a way of communicating and getting it out and through that line of communication. So it's a card, validating that your prayers have been heard. And that if you need some comfort, right? As I said, they're not the most comforting, but I should add, Sandalphon is. He's soothing, especially when your nerve endings are fried from so much stress. That's what I sense with him, is that compassion for us as humans and the hardships of living here on earth. And he would be one to call on. He's very, very tall, expansive angel, quite beautiful. So then we've got Archangel Raziel again, the magician, and Michael. And the magician card is really, for Raziel, it's about manifesting. It's about what I was talking about, you calling on the angels. Raziel helps you process information and knowledge from things that can be pretty convoluted or difficult to understand. He helps you get it in bite-sized pieces. So it makes sense why he keeps showing up. And he's telling you can manifest the life you want. But in order to manifest, you have to move the limiting beliefs. You can't feed that. And he'll help you with that. So if you need to manifest a better flow of income in your life and wealth, or better relationships, better career, whatever it is, he's going to help you realize your manifesting power, but also what might be getting in the way of that, so that you can have that life that you want. And I think too, right now what's happening on the planet is we all have our own vision for what we wish to see in the world, right? So we know there are conflicting visions. There are conflicting wants. Not everybody wants the same thing. So it's more of, with manifesting is more of, how do we make that work that it can show up in multiple ways for each of us, right? Is more of a there's the collective, and then there's the smaller piece. So what we want to bring into the world is maybe to focus on that it's for the greater good of humanity. What's blocking that? So he'll help you remove that too, those blocks that are in the way. And we have Michael, my buddy, Page of Michael. So in this deck, the suits, like swords from the tarot deck, is Michael, Archangel Michael in this deck. This is about, so the page implies that it would be something that's new, like not something you're a master of. It'd be something you need to practice, but it'd be about an exciting new challenge coming into your life, like a positive challenge, that you have what it takes to succeed in that. It's a good time to review, like whether there's a contract involved or any documents. Make sure you read through things thoroughly. That would be the message. So on a greater scale too, like I look at things from a collective point of view, is looking at, when it says contracts, it could be not just a written contract, but a collective contract, or a contract that you made before you even came here with another person in your life. Because sometimes it's reviewing those, whether you know for sure it's a contract or not, but just more think this is done. Sometimes the contract's done. Time for me to move on and take on something new and exciting, you know. Michael also is working to help us on this planet. I call it with the sword to help us cut our cords and have compassion for even those who think differently than us. At the end of the day, even if we think differently, we might be trying to get the same thing at the end of the day, even if we can't understand it from other perspectives. So I'm gonna bring this to an end because I know it's long, so hopefully you could have paused it as you watched it. We're just gonna bring our hands to our hearts and take a nice deep breath. And exhaling out. Now we're just going to call on the presence of the Archangels with ease and grace in our lives, asking us one at a time to assist us in smoking out our limiting beliefs, our limiting patterns, loyalties to dysfunction, things that are not serving us, but allowing us to see them with compassion, gratitude for the things they taught us, being able to process and then release and let them go. And you might have to do that more, a lot of times, which is okay. So it asks us to have some grace for ourselves, some grace, and go into a space of non-judgment for oneself. Because remember, we are humans. So I thank you. And so it is. So I hope you can go and have a peaceful day, and I hope you enjoyed this message. I'd love any feedback if anybody wants to email me or any questions that come from this. Have a great day.